want to mention this because I find this fascinating. I was totally and completely wrong on something here. I'm not that smart to get everything right. I was involved in the development of both of these. The HRAs were actually developed with the idea of large employers, and the HSAs were developed with the idea of being applicable to small employers. In fact, when they first started, HSAs are actually a carryover from 1997 legislation that were called medical savings accounts, MSAs. They were promoted by Pat Rooney, who was with Golden Rule that sold small group business and individual products. It was thought that, okay, we're going to put accounts in, people are going to take personal responsibility, but with small group and individual products. Because once an employer put those monies up, that's the employee's money. You can't take it back. That's real dollars. HRAs are not real dollars. They're just promises. You can't put an HRA dollar in a bank account. You can put it on a ledger and says, here's some money for you to use, but if you don't use it, the law says the employer's got all sorts of flexibility. The employer can take that back. You leave, your HRA dollars can go away. They don't have to, but most employers do. So you can do all sorts of things from an employer standpoint with health reimbursement arrangements. So I thought this would be the big area that would take off for large employers because they have the flexibility of doing things with current plan design. There's no specific plan design required for this. With HSAs, there's the legally required high deductible health plan, HSA eligible plan. Well, it looks to me from the data that more large employers are moving to HSAs. I didn't expect that, quite honestly. I think it's because HSAs are real dollars. And we thought, my argument about HSAs is there used to be a 10% penalty. The Affordable Care Act's gone down to 20%. But I said, wait a second. Don't you want, HRAs can only be used for health care. They cannot be used for anything but health care. All right? HSAs can be used for anything. You go buy a bass boat with HSAs. It's a 20% penalty right now. If you wait to age 65, I think you can still take it out and go buy a bass boat. All right, but the penalty was only 10%. They got it 20%. Well, when it was 10%, I was arguing, wait a second. If I got a credit card debt that's charging 25% interest rates, isn't it to my economic advantage to take those dollars out and pay off my credit card? But see, from an employer standpoint, that means that my employee doesn't have those dollars to pay for their health care. So I didn't think that was going to be a great deal for employers to do this when employees could play around with this and take the dollars that an employer intended to go to health care and use it for something else. But I was wrong. The reality is they don't take it out. They like to accumulate it, invest it. So it's worked out, and that's why it's a growth area and continues to be. And that's why more and more employers now are really looking at full replacement instead of just an option. Full replacement health reimbursement arrangement, health savings account plans. Let me talk about HRAs for a second while I'm in this section. If HRAs aren't real dollars, what are they? The what? The notional accounts, but if they're not, are they insurance plans? Are they insurance plans, HRAs? They are. They are. When I worked with the Treasury Department, after I took it to the White House, I worked with the Treasury Department to get the regulations. In order to make this work without legislation, they had to work through all their history on health insurance regulations. And they had to thread a very narrow needle to allow this. It almost didn't work. And that's a whole other story. We got real close to them just saying this won't be approved. But ultimately was. But it was approved with a very narrow approach that required HRAs to be defined as health insurance plans. So federally, under federal law, HRAs are self-insurance plans. So think about this, defined contribution. I'm skipping ahead a little bit on the Affordable Care Act. Can a large employer put in an HRA only if that's their insurance plan and meet the standards of the Affordable Care Act? No, because it doesn't have unlimited benefits. It's a limited dollar amount. So when I heard all these people talking about, oh, everybody's going to go defined contribution, use HRAs, it wasn't going to work. On March 23rd, 2010, after the bill passed, I called my contact at the Treasury Department that same day. And I said, under this, as I read it, you can't do HRA only because it's an insurance plan. It won't meet the standards. They went back to Treasury. Treasury said, you're right. It won't work. That's why it's also part, if you do it separately, it's an insurance plan. It'll have the insurance plan tax. There's a tax on insurance plans, on self-insurance plans. There's a tax on it. Why? Because it is an insurance plan under federal law. So keep in mind, we've kind of lumped them together when we're talking about it being accounts, but they're totally different legally.